Hello, everyone. Welcome to Decoding the Future podcast. And today we'll be discussing on the data to AI journey. I'm your host, Keyang, CTO of Fujitsu Asia. Today we have with us a special guest, Adarsh from the Microsoft AI Global Black Belt team. Adarsh, would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks a lot for having me here, Kayang. So, my name is Adarsh. I'm part of the Microsoft Global Black Belt team for AI. We help our customers work on the most strategic and innovative AI projects, helping them really achieve value, transformative business value from their AI initiatives.
In today's episode, we'll be focusing on data to AI journey. Maybe let's kickstart by discussing the current landscape of data and AI with a question to you. Where do you see most organizations are at in terms of their AI journey currently?
Sure. I mean, it's a very exciting time to be in AI. I can tell you that. And as we know, there's a lot of hype around the market about AI and what it's going to be promising to do. What we see is that, a lot of customers are still in the proof of concept to proof of value stage. So, a 2024 study by IDC showed that actually in the next 24 months, most of the customers that we surveyed are going to be increasing their investment in AI, going from buying prepackaged solutions to actually building out very customized workflows for their own business. And we really see that's going to be where we're going to see a lot more investment going forward. Uh, and I think that's where the one of the challenges that we see going forward is how do we help our customers move from piecemeal POCs and individual projects in areas such as customer service or document or processing or fraud detection to going towards building a more end-to-end ecosystem of AI projects that link together and provide that kind of transformational business value that customers are looking for from AI.
Oh, that's interesting. I think for Fujitsu, we share similar view. I think comparing global to APAC, I think APAC is maybe still in the experimenting phase, but I think they are embarking on small proof of concept, proof of value projects for AI. So what are the differences that you see of AI adoption across different industry verticals?
We actually see a wide adoption across industries in AI. And that's one of the positive aspects about AI, the current wave of AI. It's industry agnostic. So we see, customers in the manufacturing space, who have been traditionally tech shy, they've been adopting AI. We see customers in financial services quickly adopt AI for a lot of document processing and those kind of use cases. We see customers in telco and other industries also adopting AI for their customer service use cases. And of course, we see a lot of adoption from a lot of the public sector companies as well, which are looking to see how they can increase automation within their organizations, improve efficiency, and make services more available to customers.
Okay. I think we have talked quite a fair bit on the use cases for AI. I think coming back, I think one of the things that actually plague the industry is talking about ethics, data privacy, etc. So how do you see this, and how do you make sure that actually employees have secured so-called experience while reaping the productivity rewards that AI will bring about? How do you see this being played out in terms of ethics and security, privacy, etc.?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as the adoption for AI increases, the need for responsible use of AI will also increase. And as we see, more and more use cases being innovated for AI, we need to also see how we can build in responsible AI practices as we build those use cases. So at Microsoft, we really look at four things when we're looking at responsible use of AI. First, we start off with the Microsoft initiative for trustworthy AI, where we internally are building a set of toolkits and applications and frameworks for responsible AI that we are making available for our customers. Secondly, we're looking at how we can help our customers build data governance and policies inside their own ecosystem to be able to govern their data so that it's being used in a responsible manner. And we have tools such as Microsoft Fabric and Microsoft Purview that help customers implement these data governance policies within their ecosystems. Thirdly, we're looking at how we can build ethical use of AI within the new generative AI landscape. So we're looking at content safety initiatives where we can build in automated ways to make sure that any content that is either inputted into a generative AI model or coming out from a generative AI model is screened so that it's safe for interaction. And finally, what we also see is that all this is well and good. The tools and practices and frameworks are well and good, but AI is such a new initiative for most employees at our customers that we see that training and certification and improving the practices there, those are actually as important. So we actually work with our customers to provide training on AI for their own employees so that they become aware of both the limitations of AI and how to use it best to get the productivity gains that they're looking at. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot we can talk about in terms of just, how we can improve the trustworthiness of AI systems and how we can improve the value that comes out of it. So I actually had a question for you. So what do you see as the adoption for AI in customers that you work with in APAC?
I think right now a lot of customers in APAC are looking towards AI in terms of the experimental phase. But I think most importantly, where we see customer concern are, like just now what you mentioned, is mostly on responsible AI, ethics, data privacy. I think there's a couple of consideration, especially with the recent enactment of the EU AI Act. I think this is where there are certain regulations that we need to follow. Although Europe is far, but with the business entity working with each other across region, this is where we need to take note of what there is in terms of regulations that bind us to the adoption of AI. But I think most importantly, some of our customers actually have these thoughts that, is AI really effective? Are they really being ethical, fair? One of the use case that we encounter within Fujitsu with some of our customers is the AI ethics, where we have a solution that actually help them to assess and look into how AI is it being fair. Example, in one of the banking customer that we have, looking at loan application approval settings, this is where our AI ethics solution will actually assess the loan approval rate, whether it's being fair or not. And the interesting thing is that you could actually find that whether AI actually comes in to mention that the loan approval rate may be higher for male versus female. So they look at the different attributes based on the data presented to detect whether the AI is being fair and ethical or not. Yeah,
that's very interesting. That's an excellent use of the different facets of AI that you need to bring together, not just the capability of assessing the credit risk worthiness, but also the policy factors that as enterprises adopt AI that they need to look at as well, and how we can automate the policy applications as well, right? Like as you mentioned. Yeah.
So maybe Adarsh, I think we have talked quite a fair bit, but can you maybe share some specific pain points that actually customer encounter when they actually start implementing or getting into all this experimental project phase, how it actually impact their business operation?
Sure. So I think one of the pain points, and I'm sure you can share your pain points that you've encountered as well. But I think one of the first pain points that we work with a lot of customers is in trying to basically define the business value itself. How do we make sure that the investments in AI are ROI positive for our customers, right? And we of course, we are in a very experimental phase. We are in the phase of this particular boom cycle that is, ripe for innovation, and there are customers who want to try it out. But at the same time, we need to work with our customers to ensure that any, projects that they're taking up, that they actually have sound business justification for it, and that they are able to scale it out to the level that will actually give them that value. I think that's what we primarily work with our customers with. How about yourself? Like, what kind of challenges have you seen?
I think some of the key challenges that typically we see with customers is, do they have the right data? What's their data quality? Because in essence, if you have garbage in, you will get garbage out. So one of the most important thing that typically we work with our customer is through consulting phase, where we actually assess the type of data they have to make sure that it's of the right quality. And most importantly, this is where we look at the different type of data that actually fits to their business outcome. And of course, the next phase we are talking about is integration.
Mm.
How complex is the integration? It really depends on what they have currently within the system and the business objective that they wish to achieve. What about you? Any other things that you see that could be specific pain points that customer might look for?
I think definitely the points that you mentioned regarding data integration and quality are very important, and we see that as well with our customers because as the adoption for AI improves and as the amount of data available also keeps increasing, there's a chance that there'll be some incorrect information that goes into these generative AI systems, and they're able maybe what we call hallucinations, generating hallucinations. So what we actually work with our customers a lot is, how do we build in safeguards and content safety filters in place to reduce and eliminate hallucinations as much as possible. So we work with them to basically build in as you mentioned, data quality checkers that go into the model, but also once the model is ready, the output that is generated, we validate that as well to make sure that that is also validated and grounded in fact. And then we also make sure that any user that is interacting with a system is not trying to trick the system into behaving in an unfair or malicious manner. So we work with them both on the input side and the output side as well, to make sure that content that is going in and out of a generative AI system is correct.
Oh, that's very interesting. I think just now you mentioned something about AI hallucination. Actually, these are all the weaknesses that we have in terms of AI. And with respect to this, actually, Fujitsu is spending a lot of R&D efforts to overcome all these challenges with AI hallucination. Actually, we are working in our research lab to drive towards how to improve and counter all these AI hallucination pattern that actually arises. But I think one of the interesting trend today is when you talk about Gen AI, LLM model, what the end user typically does in a malicious way is that, example, it tries to fish information that is sensitive and that is of a certain higher security governance rating. So, for example, they could actually ask, "How do you make a bomb?" But of course, if you do it that direct, the Gen AI model may reject your request and say, sorry, I can't do it. But let's say you ask in a very subtle way that, example, my grandma has certain needs for certain fire explosive kind of materials that needs to use in the barbecue manner. Maybe the Gen AI might release something insecure to you to in terms of bomb or explosive making. So these are some of the ways that we are looking at how to counter the end user trying to attack the LLM model or the Gen AI to try to fish secure, or I would say a dangerous kind of a classification of information. But where do you see all this is coming about?
Yeah, I mean, the example that you gave is really important. Like, I think as model providers and as platform owners, we need to be cognizant of these risks as well. So we work with our customers to ensure that these risks are minimized as much as possible. But we also know, like in any security landscape, it's always a cat and mouse game. The malicious actors are out there trying to figure out the weaknesses of each of these models and exploiting them. And we actually work with the open source community and with the wider developer community to identify, these risks and put in mitigation factors as quick as we can within the models that we provide as well. So that's definitely something that is quite a concern for us as well.
That's good. That's good. I think we have talked quite a fair bit on the security aspect, the governance aspect, and of course on customer pain point. But I think coming back to realization, actually AI is fundamentally reliant on data. Without data, there can't be any AI algorithm to crunch on to improve our lives, be it for quality, automation, etc. So whether they are sophisticated deep learning models or simpler rule-based system, but I think the quality and quantity of data directly impact the AI
Mm.
performance. So how can company leverage data to overcome all these challenges and pain points? I think maybe you want to seek your view on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So data, as you said, is the foundation of any AI model, whether that be, the traditional machine learning based models, then the next generation deep learning models, and now, of course, the new LLM based generative AI models. Data that we provide to it is ultimately going to be the backbone of the capability that we can extract from these AI models. So, in terms of how we look at it, right? Like we generally look at it from data from a stack perspective. So at the lowest level, we have our actual data sources, like how we make sure that those are scaled out and made available, so we can search the entire ecosystem for all the data that's available. So we look at data lakes and data warehouses to basically bring together all the data that organizations typically have and bring them to one single plane and make them searchable and available so that they can actually become a part of the models. And that's very important because I think a lot of customers struggle with that first pain point, which is how do I make all the data that I have within my enterprise available to my data scientists or AI engineers to make them to build these models. So we definitely work with them on that. But like uh, that's definitely the first layer. But like we see a lot of customers still working on that part of the phase. Like what do you see in that market?
Okay. Typically, I think what I see is similar to what you have described just now. We see our customer typically taking a journey of data to AI in 5 key steps. First key step is typically a customer will embark on a journey doing some kind of manual data reporting.
Right.
This is their first trial of having data to prove certain business objective or outcome. And this typically revolves around laborers' manual efforts trying to get data from everywhere. And most of the time, the data are very silo and in nature. So I think many times there isn't much automation, and this is a
Mm.
laborer's effort. But once they have the data in place, this is where typically we see them going into interpretation of data in terms of visualizing what kind of data the benefit it will brings. So this is where they start to experiment the next step, which is on dashboarding, visualization, where they try to make meaningful sense of the data easily. And typically, this is where executives are very excited about having to consume all this dashboard and data.
Yeah.
So with that, once these two steps has a small guideline help them to progress their business benefit, they will want more. They will start to think that I have many of these silo data reporting system here and there, different dashboard, different visualization. How about I start to correlate and consolidate them and centralize them? This is the start of the third step journey where we talk about data platform, data hubs. And this is where we typically see that how a customer will actually work with their between business and IT, they will come together and correlate the data to reap the benefits. And once this is in place, the next fourth stage is where we're looking at emerging intelligence,
Mm.
where customer will start to experiment with machine learning, with a kind of automation platform that actually helps them to automate and drive all this data to sort of reap the productivity quality gain that they seek. And the last stage, stage 5, is where full AI autonomous decision making starts to come in once the emerging intelligence stage has actually stabilized. So this is how we see the 5-step journey in helping how our customers to move from data to AI. Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean that's a very comprehensive overview of the data journey that customers go through, and that's great that you're able to guide them through each of those steps. Uh, because as you know, like some organizations, within their organization there'll be multiple silos which will be at different levels of these journeys itself, and that's one of the interesting parts of working with customers in this region. There are teams that are already at level 5, some of them who are experimenting with generative AI, and then some who are still looking at like how do I consolidate my data platforms. So it's an interesting mix of customers that we see here for sure.
That's good. Adarsh, I think we have spoken quite a fair bit today on data to AI journey, and of course, customer pain points, the challenges they face, and of course, where we need to look into the journey for data and AI
Mm.
success. Do you have any real world example that you can offer to the audience today that's watching the podcast on where companies have successfully navigated these challenges using data driven approaches?
For sure. So I think, as we know, like millions of customers around the world are adopting AI to change their business processes, and we're seeing adoption across industries. So a couple of examples that I'd like to highlight. Right, let's start with Siemens Industrial. So they have been working with us on how they can build an industrial co-pilot, on how their employees on the factory floor can use a conversational interface to basically ask questions of their data and of their processes and quickly get answers. For example, they can ask questions about what's the status of the line, or what's how many units have been processed today. Those are the kind of data that they can quickly gain back to them without looking at possibly some laborious report or some chart at the same time. So they can quickly correlate these data points from just a conversational interface. And they can also at the same time ask the same interface for questions about how do I repair this particular machine, because that same interface has access to multiple data sources. They don't have to be just restricted to their, for example, their BI reporting system, but they can also have access to their manuals, user manuals, and they can also have access to policy documents, and all of that could be accessed from the same interface. So that's definitely one very good example that we see. I'd also like to mention in the case of Epic, one of the major healthcare providers in the US, who are using a conversational interface, a chatbot for to provide their healthcare providers easy access to patient records, so that they can quickly see, hey, which patient needs help, and what's the status of each patient, and how can they triage and prioritize the work inside their ward the most efficiently. So that's what we're seeing in the market out there.
I see. That's very, very interesting.
Yeah. So these are some of the customers that we've been working with around the world. How about yourself? Like how what kind of use cases have you seen within the customers that you've been working with?
Oh, within Fujitsu, actually in the Asia Pacific region, we have seen some very interesting customer work that co-creation with us to drive all this AI adoption. So one of them is example Riken Institute, which is one of the leading R&D research and development institute in Japan. So together with us, we are developing the AI algorithm for machine learning that actually helps them to predict in terms of having higher accuracy for drug discovery process,
Mm.
where we use machine learning data, the data that they have to predict the protein structural changes, so as to help them to accurately and faster develop the drugs. So this is one particular use case. Another one that we have within the Australia region is we talk about the Jover Wine Group, where they are wine producer, and with that they distribute the wine throughout the whole country. And this is where we use the data based on the sales, the business forecast to drive a kind of accurate demand forecasting to help them to plan
Mm.
in terms of their production to the distribution side of sales. And this is something that very interesting to reap business outcome in terms of driving higher revenue. And lastly, we have another railway company where we are looking at Pacific National, where Fujitsu actually helps them to develop the machine learning predictive uh, algorithm that helps them to predict the wear rate of the train wheels.
Mm.
And this is very important as it encompass safety, reliability, and of course cost efficiency. You definitely do not want to change out your wheels before they actually wear out, because that will incur higher costs. And this is something that Fujitsu actually works with all our customers to reap all these business benefits using AI.
That's great. And one thing that I just noticed from the examples that you're showing is that AI is able to go one step beyond just providing, say, forecasts or predictions, but you're also able to do planning and action, taking action on top of that. And that's where we see the real business benefit that's going to come from wider adoption of AI. And that's something that, yeah, definitely that's very exciting to hear that.
Yep. So Adarsh, looking ahead, what trends do you see shaping the future of AI, and how can companies prepare for these changes?
I mean, predicting trends in AI is like, is a very hard job at the moment. As you can imagine, the pace of change is very, very fast. The number of innovations that are coming up. So just, a few weeks ago, we had the launch of, certain models from China that beat a lot of, conventional benchmarks from models from the US. But these are the kind of innovations that we're going to continue seeing coming out from lots of different model providers around the world. So what we really see is that, similar to what we had with Moore's law in terms of scaling out of compute capacity, we're really going to have a similar kind of scaling out of performance, and both in terms of their reasoning and intelligence, quote unquote, of these models, but also in terms of the speed and the cost efficiency of these models. Both of these are going to have the same kind of we're going to see the same kind of scaling laws applied to these large language models as well. So just for example, like in terms of in the last 6 months alone, we have seen the cost efficiency of a lot of these models reduced by half. And so we're going to be seeing similar kind of scaling going out into the future. And we are very excited about that because it means that there's going to be more and more adoption of it. Um, I think definitely, as things become more available and as these models become faster and cheaper to run, there's going to be more adoption of them in day-to-day business processes. That's definitely one area that we are really seeing. But the second area that we really see, is going to pick up a lot of adoption in the next 6 to 9 months is going to be agentic AI. And there's a lot of hype around agentic AI. And there's a good question like, what is agentic AI, right? Like, how is it different to the previous iterations of these models? And fundamentally, it's a framework shift that we see in terms of how these agents operate. So the first iteration of these large language models, they were question and answer bots, right? They were, if you ask a question, they will reply and answer. If you ask for code, they'll generate some code for you. If you ask for a particular plan of a document, then they'll generate that plan for you. What we're seeing is that, hey, how can we expand on that capability and make them uh, more autonomous so that they can take actions on behalf of the human beings? And that's where agentic AI comes in. And to do that, fundamentally, what you need is three layers. So you need the model, of course, the reasoning layer in the middle that's going to provide the capability. You need an interface, a conversational interface, a multimodal interface that is going to allow users to interact with these agents not just via chat, but maybe voice, maybe video, audio. The possibilities are endless. And then finally, you need the data layer at the bottom, which will serve as the memory and context for these agents so that they can retrieve the right context and right memory and right data to basically plan for and execute on the goals that you have for your business. So that's where we really see, and we're going to see a lot more adoption of agents for sure in the next 6 to 9 months. So what do you see in your customers that you were working with?
I think I see that there's a lot of high agentic AI. I think right now the agentic AI typically revolves around personal productivity gain, personal assistance. But I think more and more I see that the business or the customers are actually looking towards how to apply this agentic AI into business operation,
Mm.
giving them the insights that they need to improve their business. Example would be customers are actually letting us know that they want to know how to actually have insights and advisory pertaining to business management, business operation, the likes of how to improve my profit margin by 10%. And you have the agentic AI going in to crunch the numbers, to analyze the data, or where exactly are there business overhead, business buffer that probably would be easy to remove, or what are the business strategy that we need to take based on external data feeds with external partner relating to the market size, the market trends, and what's happening out there. I think these are some of the things that we are seeing a shift. But I think coming back, most importantly, uh, after we have talked so much, I think the key to having realized this is still lies with the talent development. So Adarsh, you are a global black belt team member, and where do you see a typical engineer needs to grow or prepare itself in terms of to develop a career in AI? Maybe this is where the audience would also like to hear your advice.
I think that's a great question for all of us to answer, not just for me as a global black belt at Microsoft. But we are all living in a time where the pace of change is very, very fast. And so and the pace of change in AI is very, very fast. And so to keep up to date with all the latest developments that are happening is a challenge. And it's first part is to acknowledge it. Second part is to see, okay, how are we going to address it. And some of the strategies that I use personally to keep up is to basically be follow certain thought leaders on the social media platforms. I regularly see what they are posting about, what they're chatting about. The other thing that I really look at is to see what are the companies themselves, the model providers, the model creators publishing. So Microsoft Research comes up with a lot of innovative research on the latest techniques on AI, and they publish this on their Microsoft Research blog, which I regularly consume. And just the 15-20 minutes a day that I can spend on that is already very informative for me. But other than that, I think companies as a whole probably also need to adopt a continuous sort of learning mindset. um, we at Microsoft, we call it a growth mindset. And it's basically, uh, a training doesn't finish at a single certification, but every 3 months we kind of refresh it with new information, new, sort of insights that are coming out from the market, and we provide that to our employees. I think a combination of all these three things sort of help me keep up to date with whatever's happening in the latest market.
Thank you, Adarsh. It was a great conversation, and I just want to quickly wrap up and summarize some of the things that we discussed earlier on. I think first and foremost, we talk a lot on the use cases of AI. And of course, secondly, we go into the pain points that customers actually face and some of the issues that and consideration that we need to take note of during implementation and deployment of AI. And we also talk a lot on the data to AI journey where customer needs to be at. And we share some of the interesting exact real world examples, followed by just now what you have shared to the greater audience in the AI industry, how to really talent develop engineers in AI. I think besides that, is there anything that you would like to add?
No, I think that's a great summary. The only thing I'd like to add is get started. Don't wait for it. Don't wait for some kind of plateau to occur, or jump in, start experimenting, you'll start seeing the value. And work with Fujitsu, work with Microsoft, and make sure that you start implementing some use cases to begin with.
Awesome. Thank you, Adarsh, for sharing your valuable insights with us today. It has been a pleasure having you on this podcast. I hope today's conversation will help you to plan for your future in moving up the data to AI maturity and your journey towards reaping benefits out of the AI solutions. With that, I will end today's podcast. And until next time, see you again. Thank you.